What's going on, everybody? It's Ron Brown, LMT, the People's Fitness Professional, alongside my host,
Mikey Fever.
and this is a New Yorker's perspective. We're back today from we're back today with Kudjo. Kudjo, let's get ready to rock and roll. And he came with some information to drop it on y'all about Black History. We are in Black History Month, but so let's give you some Black history right now, right?
Exactly.
Oh, before we start, let's shout out to what CB4 did in that movie. I'm black, y'all. I'm black, y'all. I'm blickety, black, y'all. I'm black. I'm sorry. Let's go.
This is all for the biggity black. For the biggity black.
It's all for the biggity black. We got you. We got you.
Well, we here.
Peace, fam. Give thanks for getting me on here again, and continue the good work that you're doing with the platform. Just getting the information out, because everybody's where they're at in their degrees, and everybody has something for somebody, so it's good that there's the neutral platforms, that's not just geared to one specific frame of mind or school of thought or whatever. Right. So just wanted to make sure I put that on the record.
Appreciate it.
That keep up the work, because it's everybody. There's enough work for everybody to do.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? And we all got to chip in and do our little part to fix this mess that we have going on out here.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Right.
You appreciate it as well, brother.
No, I appreciate you. So every Black History Month, probably for the past maybe like 7-8 years, we do this series called Correcting Black History. And there was a time where we would take it to out here near the jurisdiction that they call Ottawa, which is about 4 hours east of where we're at. We would go out there. We know some Moors out there. We would go out there. They had some connections at Ottawa University. They had radio station connections. So we would do this thing, correcting Black History Month when Black History Month comes around. So this is gonna fall under that. And the whole point of the Correcting Black History Month is to present what's not usually presented to our people, so that they could look at Black history in a broader scope than what they've been taught. They've been taught, the Black inventors and the Black whatever and the Black whatever. So we're going to use a couple reference points. It's not going to be too much because we don't want to go too far. But we want to give enough so that it could stick for at least the two in the back who realize something's up and we have to change something. You know what I mean? So we're going to start with the Moorish literature. And this is Noble Drew Ali's literature from the Moorish Guide newspaper, from letters that he wrote when he was around, speeches that he made that got compiled into this book form. This is something that you would be told is limited to Moorish Science Temple. Like nobody else can't have this or something. Right? But this is everybody's info. This is not Moorish Science Temple of America's book. This is Drew Ali's book. And Drew Ali's purpose was to uplift our people. So he wasn't just limited to Moors only or something like that. Or you might think, because you don't want to be Islamic, you have nothing to do with the Moorish paradigm, when that's a farce. Right? You have absolutely everything to do with the Moorish paradigm if you have a high concentration, medium, low concentrations of melanin. So this writing is called What Shall We Call Him? And again, when we go to this time of month. I've been conscious since 95. And since 95 to getting into the Moorish paradigm, 2006, 2007, there was no them talking about Noble Drew Ali during Black History Month. Right? He's a brother, and they don't talk about him. Now, they can make the argument that there's a lot of people that don't get spoken about because, we could only talk about so many people. True, but at the same time, we should be talking about people that have some relevance to us and our liberation, because that's the whole point of Black History Month, for us to celebrate ourselves so we know who we are. But we can't know who we are if we're calling ourselves colors, and if we're calling ourselves continents, and if we're calling ourselves all these other things that people say we are. So this is what Noble Drew Ali put out in the 1920s. And if you resonate with this, then you should have no issue with the Moorish paradigm. What shall we call him? So often our various journals find trouble in selecting the proper name for the Moorish American. Some say Negro, others will brand him raceman. Still, another will call him Afro-American, and some colored, dark American, coon, shine, the brethren, and your folks. It is indeed a hard matter to find something suitable for the various occasions where a title needs to be used. Is it that these people have no proper name? Did they have a national name when first brought to these shores in the early part of the 17th century? If so, what was it? Did not the land from which they were forced have a name? It now appears a good idea for those whose duty it is to write for the various journals to find out what the national name of the forefathers of these people was. So I'll pause there. So if we don't know who we are, the first thing that we should want to know is what our name is. Because we've been having all these different names and none of them seem to get us what it is that we want. Every 20 years or something, the name changes and we're known as something else. But if we go with the narrative of the Black history and the slavery or whatever, then the question's asked. Is it that these people have no proper name? Like, why are they only getting called these particular names and labels? Why aren't they called these things in anywhere else in the world? How come when you go to Sri Lanka and there's people there darker than us, they don't call them black? How come Europeans turn every color that you could figure of and they don't call them colored? How come they don't call Chinese people yellow people? Because everybody has a national name. Our national name, when we were first brought to these shores in the early part of the 17th century, if they're going with the slave narrative and brought here on slave ships and whatever like that, all right. Well, right before they put us on the ship, everywhere around the world, we were known as Moors. That's who we were, period. Everybody knows this. This is not some, trying to sway you to join the Moor Science Temple or anything like that. This is the fact of the matter. Right before slavery is Moorish history. And then before that is the ancient Egyptian history. And everybody know Egypt fell. So the next people in line were the Moors. And then George G.M. James told us that in Stolen Legacy, that the Moors were the custodians of the ancient Kemetic knowledge. Everybody has Stolen Legacy in their library at their house. Everybody has Stolen Legacy. And nobody's bringing up the fact that George G.M. James said that the Moors, not the whatever we call ourselves right now, the Moors were the custodians of the ancient Kemetic knowledge. The Moors were.
All right, now I have a question for you. Before we continue on, I have a question for you, just to kind of like ask questions that people in the out there in cyberspace and
Yeah,
everything.
please interject at any time.
Yeah. The now the Moors, right? You had the
Mhm.
Moors. The Moor would the Moors be a mixture of Berbers and Arabs, and can you explain that whole thing? Like, because Moors, the Moorish name is kind of it covers a broad scope, or a greater spectrum of colors, so to speak,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So if we're talking about Moors, we're talking about from dark to really light, and some will actually include a European in that Moorish term.
Mhm.
So can you expound on that? Do you have any idea of course you heard this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
So
good
So,
one.
for example, let's go to this. Let's go to this reference with regard to that. All right. This is Black Man of the Nile and his family, Dr. Ben. Everybody knows Dr. Ben,
yeah.
right? Okay. The amazing the amazing phenomenon about the African Moors in Spain, that they extended their rule for 200 years in Granada, when in all other areas of Spain, the Asian Arab Moors had been driven out by the European Christian Spaniards, the African Moors, the Arab Moors, and the Asian or Arab Moors. And then that's Dr. Ben.
Mm.
So if Dr. Ben is all these people's scholar, right? Everybody's going to say that that's their scholar, right? People even carried his casket and all that. Well, he has a doctorate in Moorish history. Everybody know? Nobody knows that?
Ah.
That Dr. Ben Yakinen
Uh-huh.
has a degree, a doctorate in Moorish history.
Mm.
What's he have that for?
I would assume because the Moors were the last to, or I would say the Moors were the ones who pioneered the New World.
All right.
Yeah, in Europe.
Isn't it that simple?
And to
And
add,
then,
to add,
and then the Moors are any dark-skinned person, especially the African Negro.
to add on to what he said too, what Ron was saying, you were saying Moors do come in a wide spectrum because you gotta remember when they during what they call the Dark Ages, they were all over Europe
Mm-hmm.
educating, just like our people were doing back in ancient Kemet,
Yep.
educating the so-called Greek, Roman, Persian,
Yep.
X, Y, and
Mm-hmm.
Z. So of course there'll be times where people would mate and stuff like that.
Yep.
You gotta take into consideration the science of melanin produces multiple shades of what we call color.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And the bottom line is that anybody other than a blonde hair, blue eye is a Moor. They might be amalgamated or they might be full blood.
Okay. Now this is where it gets tricky because then and what you're saying right now coincides with certain lessons and everything like that. But
Mm.
let's look at the Italian. Would the Italian be considered a Moor?
An amalgamated Moor. Yeah. He's not a full blood, but he has more in him.
that makes sense. And how about that term, brutish more? I heard that term used before.
Well, the brute. Remember Popeye and Brutus.
Yeah.
Brutus is the Moor,
Oh.
and then the olive oil. The olive oil is the trade of the Moors that everybody wants to get.
Mm. I got you.
Yeah, it's everywhere. There's even I think it's on our channel. Just go on Canaan Land Moors Popeye, and there's a one with him in a fez and turban with the feather and all that. Popeye. So the brutish Moors is really the British Moors.
Yeah, got you.
Right? The whole interchangeable vowels and all that. All you gotta do is change the I to a U, and then you have brutish.
Got you.
Or you have MOOR and change the O's to U's.
Yeah, I have seen that spelling before.
Yeah. But you're talking about the same people. That's not some different Moors or something because it's spelled different. It's the same. That's the same people, the same dark-skinned people. One family, bearing one free national name.
So would you consider Indian Moors?
Indian in which context?
From India.
From India, yeah, because when you research the Indian history, they had a Mauryan dynasty. One of their dynasties, well-known dynasties, is the Mauryan dynasty, Mauryan. And then that's them, that's the Hindus. So if they're Moors, and then we go to the Philippines, and then the dark people there, the Ita, the Aita, Aeta or Iti, whatever people of the Philippines, and they're known as Moros. And then the high priests of Anu are Moors, Maur, and then the Spain, and then those are the Moors. And then Montezuma's headdress was called a Moorish hat. Then what more we need than that? If we need more than that, then we have issues. Because that should be sufficient. We got Dr. Ben, who told us that Africans are Moors, Asians are Moors, Arabs are Moors. So we don't need to say the misnomer. We could just say Moors for all those people, right? We're talking about the Indians. They got the Mauryan dynasty. That's pretty much half the planet that identifies as Moors. And then if we go down to South America, none of them are going to call themselves Negro. None of them are going to say Negro is their identity. They're going to say Moreno, Morena. All Latin speaking, except the colonized ones. The colonized ones might say Negro, which is expected because they're colonized. Why wouldn't they say Negro? Just like our people are colonized and they say that they're black. But the ones who actually know that they're Moors, know that they're Moro, they're Moreno. Morena doesn't mean beautiful and all that stuff. Morena means that's a Moor.
But I have a question, right?
Yeah.
The term, African American, Negro, X, Y, Z came about. All these misnomers. It became so popular amongst our people through different, periods and points in history. So to tell somebody to call themselves a Moor nowadays, they might, find some conflict in that because they don't want to be called something other than what they have been taught.
Right.
Been taught to call themselves black.
Mm-hmm.
And some people have a stigma with the whole Moorish history. They will say, well, some of them helped enslave us. I have heard that before.
Yeah.
So
and you take just like everything else, you take the good with the bad.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You're gonna go buy some J's. You might get shot in your face for those, but you still buy them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Let me add on to that too. And I agree with the brother 100% because right now I'm 55 years old, and out of my 55 years, I done seen our name change 5 times. Now it's going on 6 with the melanated people. You know what I'm saying? From nigger to Negro to colored to black to African American to melanated people. So, like you said, that people may not want to get adapted to the name Moor, but I personally watched when I was young, and I was living in Brooklyn. They had a rally on Eastern Parkway. They invited all of us to go there. We all went to the rally. We was little kids, and I'll probably be like 14, 15 years old. We was carrying banners and all that. We don't know what we out there for. They got us out there rallying. We rallying with them. Jesse Jackson came out that day, and he said, "We are not longer no more Negroes. We not no longer black. We are African Americans." And from that day he put it out there, it spread like wildfire, and everybody just took the, "Oh, I'm African American." Even when you go to applications and now, before it said black, now that's done. It says African American. So, you know, we will jump on to a title, a name without knowing it, as soon as somebody put it out there. And we need to stop that.
Yeah, but it's so hard to get people to accept more.
Yeah, they don't.
It's so crazy, man.
Yeah.
Let Tyler Perry do it. They'll do it.
They'll accept, and they will fight against the term Moor. Like, it's so many debates online or whether we should call ourselves Moor or not. Like, it's like, man.
Let's keep it real. Even in entertainment and minister society, right? When the king ran up on that dude, what did he say? You trying to kick some knowledge? When he said we're supposed to be brothers, some our people have a problem. It's a psychological issue. Anything that sounds intelligent, I'm saying our people are dumb, but if something is out of the box, it's about upliftment for some people. They look at it as, I don't want to hear that right now, man. You know what I'm saying? But I bet you let Tyler Perry come out with a fez on his head or something, everybody would jump on the bandwagon. I'm telling you.
I heard a lot of brothers come out, and in the middle of things and not in the middle of things, and be like, "Man, I'm not with that piece." Such. You don't put the negative, curses behind it, profanity and all that. And you got to sit back and be like, "Man, what type of statement is that?" You know what I'm saying? But I agree with that too, man. Brothers will put that out there fast, man. Somebody come out there, "Yo, peace, brothers. Your brothers need, I ain't with none of that peace stuff."
Yeah. It's a psychological issue. But I wanna go into what the brother has had on his mind to present as far as Black history. So we stopped at we went into Dr. Ben because of what I said, right? Because of my question. When my input. But now you stopped at, what is that, 5? I can't see from here.
Yeah. Or let me make it bigger.
Yep. Okay. Thanks. All right. So let's just, that's 9.
Yeah.
So let's
So we stopped at did it not have a land from which they were forced have a name? So was there a name of the landmass that these people came from? Now, if there is a name of the landmass that these people came from, then they can't be saying that they don't know who they are, because the name of who you are is connected to the land that you're from.
Ain't no country,
right? There has to be a name of the land in order for there to be a people. So if these people were taken from somewhere and brought over here on ships or whatever like that, and now they don't know who they are, and then Jesse Jackson has to come out and say that, "Oh yeah, we should call ourselves this now," and then everybody's going with it because that's Jesse or whatever the case is, right? Then there's clearly an issue here. One, these people lack proper leadership, right? And the people themselves, forget the leadership, the people themselves have some mental issues. Because it's not hard to see that that there was a name for the land, so the people had a name. There's a place called China, and the people are Chinese. Everybody knows this. This is not some. If they got taken from China and brought to whatever land on a slave ship, they're going to be Chinese that got brought there. But for some weird reason, these people in North America, they don't know who they are, but everybody else around them knows who they are. And this is what it's about correcting with regard to the Moorish paradigm and Noble Drew Ali presenting these things in order to get our people to think. Because Noble Drew Ali said that once we think, we will save ourselves. We wouldn't need to wait for anybody to save ourselves. We would just do it on our own. If we would just think, that's it. We're not even talking about go get arms and all that stuff yet. We're just talking about thinking. And then if you can look at your skin complexion and deny what you see and say you're African American or you're African Canadian or you're black or you're some, when you could clearly see who, then there's an issue. This is why we make the call for the two in the back, because everybody's not going to get this, unfortunately. That's just what it is. Drew Ali was here 100 years ago. People still call themselves black today. So the message isn't getting through to them. Now, a lot of the blame is on our people. Why the message isn't getting through? Because we're clogging ourselves from being able to receive the message. Because I was black too. I used to eat pork too and all that. So you can't tell me that it can't be done or it can't happen or whatever the case is, because I was Negro, black, colored too at one time. But there comes a time when you have to face the reality and realize that we've been lied to by our own. And it was purposeful that they lied. They didn't, oops and lie. They purposefully didn't tell us what our nationality is when all of them knew what it was. Like even when the brothers talking about Jesse Jackson being able, that was supposed to be Martin Luther King saying that. Mm-hmm. That wasn't supposed to be Jesse Jackson saying that. They sacrificed him so Jesse Jackson could be the guy who's leading our people. Right. The same burning building that Martin was talking about, leading my people into it. Here comes Jesse Jackson to finish the job. Mm-hmm. After a brother went to the mountaintop and saw everything and realized that, oh damn, this civil rights stuff has been unconstitutional since the 1800s.
Mm-hmm. That's a fact. There's no way you shouldn't be. No human being should be fighting for civil rights.
Zero. Because everybody, if you're human being, human rights. That's just the equation.
It's that simple.
Human being, human rights. But then again, when we say human rights, now you're talking about, well, you better have a nationality if you want those rights to apply to you. Mm-hmm. Because all human beings have a nationality. Mm-hmm. And you can't make something up and call it a nationality.
Got a place of origin.
Yep. Right? John Henry Clark told them, the name that you have has to connect you to a land.
Exactly.
Has to. All these people rep for John Henry Clark, but then they didn't get the message.
But what if the will of the people have been broken? That may have happened as well.
Like, yeah, that's which is again why this is for the two in the back.
Yeah.
Because the will of the people is broken. It's been broken.
A long time ago.
Long time ago. Even Drew Ali was told few faithful Moors. Few faithful Moors. That was 1920s.
Easy to be led in the wrong direction, hard to be led in the right.
Yep.
Right. That's a fact. Because, there's something that, all your brothers may, have pondered on this. Unification amongst our people, it seems like it's an impossible job. Because I always say this, being that my family comes from the Caribbean, just like many of you guys may have Caribbean backgrounds or African backgrounds. When the Europeans landed on the shores of Hispaniola that they call now today as Dominican Republic and Haiti, the French and the Spaniards were fighting. But they came to an agreement and realized, you know what? We got to stop this fighting and we got to reap the benefits off this land from exploitation to build back our country. And I always see that. Like, they found a common goal was to break the indigenous people and the Africans. Mm-hmm. And they like even in their fighting, they found a common enemy which they view as us. They reached an agreement to reap the benefits off of slavery. And I don't get it. It's like our people find it hard to unify because I have a school of thought, you got a school of thought, and that's your religion, that's my religion, so I can't work with you. Mm-hmm. But we are facing the same hell.
Yeah.
That like come from the Jim Crow era, man. We taught to hate each other, the light skin, the dark skin, the long hair, the short hair, the slim, the stocky, and it's still like it's embedded in a lot of us to today. And you tell, and then when they put it on in the magazines, social media, You know, you got the supermodels. You got to be this complexion. You got to be this. So that right there still goes on religiously and constantly, and it's in front of our face every day. You know, so that Jim Crow era is still right there. And to go down to the people that, with the fighting on the same land, and I'm glad that you brought it up because you brought up Haiti. Now you got the Haitians and the Dominican Republic. There's no war to separate these people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a language that separate them, and they at constant war.
Yep.
Unfortunately, based off history, that's what I'm saying. History, it could be detrimental or instrumental for the people, and
Yeah.
it requires a lot of thinking, as Kudjo was saying. Without thinking, you're gonna keep running into the same problem.
Same problems.
Yeah, so
Because the problems are only going to be solved through thought.
yeah,
The only way that you're going to solve the problems by thinking about them. If you have an issue, if the fridge isn't working, the repairman's going to have a thought about, well, what's wrong with this thing, and then he's going to put the thought into action. Oh yeah, well, you got to unplug this, unscrew that, plug this in, change this wire, whatever, because thought was put into it.
Right. This is a good segue. When we're talking about thought and we're talking about Black history, the way that they anchor in Black history along with where Black history started. If you think about Black history, technically it started in the shores of America,
Mm-hmm.
right? With
Yeah.
slavery.
Yeah.
That's where Black history starts.
It's
I hope
foundation.
that's what I'm saying right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
that's
like
a fact.
when they talk about, that's how that's the trick. It's because they could say Black history because they created Black history.
Mm-hmm.
So they can control the narrative. So they're going to tell you about slave ships, slavery, civil rights. We shall overcome.
Mm-hmm.
They keep it embedded in our psyche every year in this month.
Yeah.
Because that story keeps us in a victimized position. It keeps us subjugated. But then when we start talking about what about Moorish history? Now, but that's not a part of Black history though. Because of the wording. You get what I'm saying? So technically, Moorish history is not a part of Black history because Black history was created by the European.
Bingo.
In fact, and even when you go down to these schools, you look at in the schools, like I think it's 130 something books, 150 something books they got in their curriculum. Probably like 5 of them is really dealing with our people and really got facts about our people. So they teaching them from the schools, all the way up.
Yeah. So now when we're talking about Black, Brother Kudjo, why would Black be a misnomer? Oh, hold on, Kudjo, your mic went on.
My bad.
It's okay.
They're attempting to apply an adjective to human beings, so it's a misnomer, right? It's colorable, it's fake. There's no applying an adjective to a human being. It doesn't work like that. And anybody trying to do that, we're talking about they might need to be in the rubber room or something like that and get these people helmets, because it doesn't equate to human beings being called, like even when they say the Indian is the red man, they don't call themselves red men and red people and all that. That's just a misnomer. They call them by their tribal name.
Right, 'cause I would think Indians red, right? And Asians yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So why aren't they called red people, red Americans?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yellow Americans.
Or yellow Americans.
Yeah. Like, why aren't they?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's the $1 billion question.
And I've never, I mean, well, I won't say never because I probably heard it before and I don't remember, but what about white Americans? Do you hear that term a lot?
You hear it in
once in a while.
yeah, it's not they're going to their national origin.
Yeah, that's true. Even I'm from Europe, I'm from Germany, I'm from here, but once in a while you will hear the
Yeah, once in a while they'll say it, you know, depending on the dialogue or the narrative that's being presented.
Right.
You know,
But
because if you look at it from the perspective of if we're not black, then they're not white. You know, then it goes back to the same thing. Okay, well, what's the national origin? If those people aren't white, then what are they? And then you're going to go down the line: German, British, French, you know, Dutch. You're going to go down who these people are. But then with us, there's no identity like that. You're automatically going to the colors and the continents and the adjectives and stuff you made up yesterday and the hairstyles and the galactic dust of whatever. We're everything except what a nationality is.
even go down to the boroughs, get so far, go to boroughs and
Yeah.
listen, where you from? I'm from Virginia.
Yeah.
You're standing on it. Like, you from Virginia? I mean, like, where you from?
Yeah.
Virginia. So, you know, yeah, our people need to be taught a lot more, man.
yeah, so my point with that was Europeans rarely call themselves white Americans.
Yeah.
Asians never call themselves yellow Americans. And Indians never ever call themselves red Americans. So why are we the only ones sitting in a corner claim to be victimized and disenfranchised? We're the only ones black American. Maybe the word black does have a significance, and maybe we need to really think about that. You know, as far as the adjective part, right? What other Noble Drew Ali says, according to science, black means death. Now, how would you explain that? How do you see that?
From the science that he's talking about is law. The science is law that he's talking about, jurisprudence, right? So black, according to science, means that in law, there's a term called civiliter mortuus, which means dead in the eyes of the law. And then there's a term called in propria persona, which means in your proper person. When someone classifies or is misclassified as black, they fall under civiliter mortuus, which means dead in the eyes of the law. So once you say that you're black, you're dead in the eyes of the law. Nothing applies to dead anything. If plant's dead, you're not sitting there watering it. Right? You're not pampering it. You're not putting the soil, food, and all that stuff in a dead plant. It's not getting the attention as a living plant would get. Right? So black, according to science, means death. If we look at it from the agricultural aspect with food, right? If I give you black water, I bet you won't drink it. If I give you a black fruit, unless it's a black fruit, but a black fruit is more than likely rotten, you're not gonna eat it. If I give you black vegetables, you're not taking those, fry them up, stir fry.
So you don't even want to walk on the side of the street if a brother got on all black and a black hoodie, and all black on. It just come with, like,
comes with something. Yeah,
black this, black that. It's just bad news, man.
Comes with something.
I like to add on what the brother was saying too, because I feel that a lot of people accept the American title, God, because they take it as a upliftment. You know what I'm saying? Like you will see, you won't hear somebody from China or somebody else claim America unless it's in they benefit. It's benefiting them.
Mm-hmm.
Now when it's benefiting them, they'll stand up quick. Well, I'm a Chinese American. I'm a such American. They're gonna throw the American title on there fast. Because
Right.
supposed to be the land of the great and the land of opportunity and land of that. So I think that's why a lot of brothers, our people, cling on to that American title. Like, we the baddest wolves in town. I'm American. And you're not even trying to go no further than that because you don't want to be associate yourself with some place that ain't the biggest, baddest, roughest, toughest place in town.
No, and then look at this too, just to add this on, that if they're talking about, well, I'm from the United States, but they're American, that's not really what it is. Because if they're from the United States, they'll be United Statesian. They wouldn't be American if they're from the United States. So how is it that they are able to not call themselves United Statesian when they're from the United States? And then if America means the copper-toned inhabitants that were in the Americas before the Europeans, then the Europeans definitely can't be American. So the American really only applies to us. When they start doing the hyphen, Chinese American, German American, whatever, they're really tying themselves to have claim here, where they don't have claim because they're foreigners, all of them. But we can't even say that we're American because people from the continent don't say they're African. They identify themselves by a nationality too.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say Congolese, Ghanaian, Nigerian.
Yoruba.
Right? The Yoruba. They're not going to say they're African.
No.
Because they know people don't come from continents. They come from countries, tribes, nations. That's how people are identified. So even saying American isn't the correct, even though it's more correct than Negro, black, colored, and whatever else, it's more correct than that. But even that has its flaws. Because to say that we're American is just tying us to a continent, which people don't come from continents. We're still in error.
All right. Now, you wanted to expound on this, the black civilization, destruction of the black.
Yeah, just again, another reference point for people to see that our scholars have told us what it is, and we've been in denial of the truth for whatever reason, and like we're saying, it could be the brainwash, it could be the food, it could be whatever it is, right? We're missing some things. So we're going to go to page 221, and this is page 221. If you have the book, pull it out, go to page 221. Right? And this is Chancellor Williams. Everybody knows him. Everybody knows this book. Now again, just who were the Moors? The answer is very easy. The original Moors, like the original Egyptians, were black Africans. Right? We talked about this in the live the other day. So the original Moors, like the original Egyptians, were black Africans. And then the average person was going to say, well, see, so that means Moors are black. No, it doesn't. That means that the description of the Egyptians and the Moors is black. And the geographical location that you can put them to is Africa. So they're African. But that's not saying that they're black Africans as their identity. That's descriptive. They're Egyptians and Moors. Right? As amalgamation became more and more widespread, only the Berbers, Arabs, and coloreds in the Moroccan territories were called Moors, while the darkest and black-skinned Africans were called blackamoors. Eventually, black was dropped from blackamoor. That's how we became black people.
Yeah, they dropped the Moor out too. You know,
because they dropped the Moor out and left the black.
Yeah, left the black instead of dropping the black out and leave the Moor.
Leaving the Moor.
Yeah.
And that's the game that they've been playing with our people, which is why we're trapped in this black wormhole that we can't get out of because they took Moor off.
Didn't that happen here in the States though? I believe, was it Carpenter's Hall or Providence Hall, where they remove through legal channels, they remove the sovereignty of the so-called black man?
Yeah, well, you know, the removing the sovereignty is calling them black.
Yeah, that's
like they can't move they can't take the sovereignty. All they can do is get you to be in a status where you don't have the sovereign power.
Yeah, binding by contract, birth certificate. Not to sound going on that tangent.
Yeah.
Name, yeah.
But then again, pre that, because remember, the first birth certificate is that we're black. The first adhesion contract was that we're black, we're slave, we're of no value, and then we embrace that as our culture of who we are. And then we start talking about black kings and queens of Egypt when the term black didn't even exist in Egypt. So you can't take a word and retroact it to the past and think that it applies like that. It doesn't.
Yeah, I noticed that brothers do that. I hear debates, and I don't think people think that deep though.
No, but that's the thing. That's the crazy part is that it's not even deep. We were blackamoors. They took off Moor and started calling us black. That's how we became black. Logically, well, if that's the case, then let's put Moors back on there and get back in power.
Yeah.
So how would that change things though, right? Because you think about it, our people in the condition that they're in right now. Let's say tomorrow we all stop using black and we start using Moors. How would that change? How would that change our condition?
The first thing that would change is that their ancestral foremothers and forefathers will start acknowledging them again because they're acknowledging them, right? By saying that we're Moors, we're actually honoring our foremothers again. What did the scripture say? Honor thy fathers and mothers so your days could be long on the earth plane, right? And then our people have the shortest lifespan because we don't honor our foremothers and forefathers. So that's one thing that'll change. And that's in scripture. They can't even say that Kudjo said. Scripture says that. All these people who want to use holy books or whatever, right? So that's one thing that'll change. The other thing that'll change is that as the people start embracing that culture and history and name, and it sinks into their mind, now they're going to start being that.
Yeah, I say that too.
So when we go and we say Google Moors in images, and then you put Moors in, they're not showing you slaves and guys with torn pants and whatever like that. They're showing you regal. They're showing you royalty when you look up Moors. They're not showing you. They're not showing you John with the crack in his pocket and all that stuff. They're not showing you. They're showing you. You know what I mean? Like royalty when you look up Moors. So remember, this is just from them changing the name. So, like for example, how many people that would call themselves black, African, whatever, right? Especially males. Well, even so, females, if we add other things in, let's say we add in a towel for the females and we add in a t-shirt for the males. How many of our people took those and wrapped that around their head in their lifetime? That's a turban. Moors wear turbans. That's Moorish culture. When these brothers were buying shirts bigger than their body, that's jalabia. That's Moorish. You know, the long shirts down to your knees and all that stuff. That's Moorish. That's Moorish culture. So it's in our DNA to do these things. But if we don't really know what it is, then here we are having these conversations.
So we're disconnected from our ancestral culture due to using a name that doesn't connect with our ancestors and our culture.
Exactly. And as soon as we start using the name that connects with them, now here they come working for us in our favor now again. And we could stop praying to white Jesuses and all that stuff, thinking that that's where the power's at. Or some prophets or whatever the case is realize that we're the Christ. All the Christ said that we're it. All the Indian whoever's know that return of the ancient ones. All the people who are claiming that they're Indian, Native American, or whatever like that, don't look like us. In their stuff, it says, oh yeah, the ancients are going to return one day. And then it's what do the ancients look like? And it's, oh yeah, they look like black guys. You go talk to the Greeks or whatever like that and say, oh yeah, who's the gods? Who's the gods? Zeus and all of them. Oh yeah, the black guys. They know European gods in Greece. It was all dark-skinned people. So all that comes back to us once we embrace who it is our ancient foremothers and forefathers were. If we don't, then like Drew Ali said, the worst is yet to come. And then we're in the worst right now, up to our neck. We're in the worst right now.
Yeah, we got to, because I know, like, it's even like the first time as I got older and I read the Bible, and as I'm reading it, and I'm seeing that it said that, Jesus had skin complexion like copper, his hair was like wool, and I'm trying to put it in my young brain, like, and as a drawing picture, how did this white man come up with all these wise? And I'm reading right here. You know what I'm saying? That it's saying that skin like copper tone and hair like wool. You got to. So it's like the false belief is right there in front of us. But we can't go to a black church right now or to a church where our people are at right now and say that and people believe us, even though it's inside the scriptures right there.
Yeah. And that's how you know that it's a PTSD or whatever that our people have. It's a mental. There's a block. Because like you said, the stuff is right there in their scriptures. Right there. Every holy book. Every holy book. It's all right there.
So, I mean, can you give the public some books they should pick up and read in regards to Moorish history?
With regard to Moorish history, off the top, you can, because one of the things is that our people's attention span is short, so we don't want to give them the crazy stuff. We want to give them the easy read. So if you go to khalifamedia.com, CALIFA media.com, there's a lot of books there that are by Moorish authors that's teaching you about the Moorish culture. So one of the things that we want to get out of is going to carpenters for mechanics. If you want to know about Moors, go to Moors. Don't go to black guys. Don't go to Hebrews. Don't go to NOI. Don't go to them to learn about Moors. If you want to know about Moors, go to Moors. You're gonna get a more defined answer to what it is that you're looking for, opposed to some vague stuff that people don't know what they're talking about, right? Because, you know, it is Moorish history. So you should be going to Moors. If you want the carpet clean, you're not going to the butcher for the carpet cleaning, right? You're going to go to the master of their trade. You're not going to go to somebody else. You're going to go to the master of the trade. Well, the ones who know about Moorish history would be the Moors. And I would start there. Khalifa Media, there's multiple authors on there. Go through those titles and pick something and start the journey, because the journey has to start, right? The other thing that I suggest that you do is that all the books that you already got, go to the index of those books and look up Moors. Go to the shelf right now and all the books, your favorite whatever books, go back and look up Moors, and then you're going to see how much you missed. Because almost every book in the index, there's at least one reference to Moors in there, in some type of context.
Shakespeare books, Othello.
Right? You can't talk about it without bringing up the Moors. You can't talk about history, African history, Black history, world history, without bringing up the Moors. You know?
Well, we got some powerful people, man. You know, I ain't gonna lie. Some very intelligent people too. If we can all put it together and get on the same page, boy, we something to mess with, man. You know,
that's the hardest part to get everyone on the same page.
Yeah,
you know, that's the hardest. Like I have a lot of conversations behind the scenes with different people, DMs, Facebook inboxes, and phone calls and texts, and it's like we all want the same thing, but we just disagree on how to get there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I wanted to make this point too. Just this, the last point for this, with this page right here, with this book. The African blacks, having even had this name taken from them, must contend for recognition as Moors. So if we're contending for recognition as anything else, it's gonna fail, says Chancellor Williams, who everybody has his book. If we don't contend for recognition as Moors, there will be no recognition, which there has been no recognition, because we are not contending for recognition as Moors. We want to be recognized as blacks. They're not going to respect blacks. Actually, Dred Scott, they don't respect blacks. The black man has no rights that the white man is about to, because blacks don't have, you can't, you're not getting it. It's nothing personal. That's just the law. If you're black, you're a slave. If you're a slave, you're a property. If you're property doesn't have rights.
Right. Because you were given the name black. See, I think that's what people are missing.
Yep.
With this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we just got up and say, you know what? We're going to call ourselves black.
Yeah.
No, we were called black. We were given that tag. So, you know, I think that's what we're missing. And this conversation has been had on different platforms over the years.
Oh, yeah.
And I would like to really hear from people who had these conversations on their platform. I would like to know, you know, what are their thoughts about this nowadays?
Mm-hmm.
You know, should we continue to call ourselves black after you listen to so much information coming from some of the greatest Moorish scholars?
Yeah.
Do you still agree with being called black? Does it? I guess it doesn't matter to a lot of these people.
Yeah. And again, that's you know, that's the syndrome. You know, the ability to think for ourselves as a people is one of the hardest things for us to do. Think for ourselves. Like, what do you say? Forget what Noble Drew Ali said. Forget what Farrakhan said. Forget what Garvey said. Forget what Queen Santiwa said. Forget what all of them said. What do you say?
Let me answer that question. When I used to, when we used to build, we used to all get together every Sunday. It used to be all different religions, nationalities, different people we used to build. And I found a lot of people had a problem with answering that question. I'm talking about they even take it down to the point, and I'm a brother that I'll be like, yo, I want to hear what you say. I'm 5%, but if I'm asking you today's mathematics, I don't want to keep hearing you saying it word for word that you done seen it off the paper, and you've been telling me this for the last 10 years. And you just, because all right now you're doing is you just reciting.
Right.
You just got a good memory. You reciting.
Right.
And this is the answer that most people used to tell me. Oh, I don't got the right to question that person.
Right.
I'm not asking you to question the Quran or to question the degrees or nothing. I'm asking you your interpretation of what you read. They will not answer that question, brother.
Yep.
It comes down to the culture of people being afraid of being right or wrong.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to look impeccable, like there's no errors.
No errors, yeah.
That's that Messiah complex, man. We interpreted that and we became that.
And I think that is also the teachings too, because in order for you to manifest that and keep on saying that, you have to be taught that. And if you're standing here, you standing on it, and there's other people that's in the same religion, the same faith as you, and they say the same thing too when you pull them to the side. And be like, how you feel about this? Oh, I can't question. And it's not like you really questioning the person. I'm just asking you your interpretation of it.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
But that's where it's like, the like you're saying, like there's Hebrews who I know that they study Kabbalah and all that. They speak Hebrew and all that stuff, but they got Moorish nationality card. They're not playing around about being a ward. Like, I'm not being a ward. I don't care. I studied the law or whatever like that, and I studied the Hebraic law, and I studied the constitutional law, and that stuff is in harmony with nationality and knowing who it is that we are, right? Joseph X told these people, I'm a nationalized. Yusuf Bey. Forget that X stuff. How is he Yusuf Bey and then everybody's still playing around with X? That's Captain Joseph. How come he nationalized and everybody else is nationalizing? Doesn't make sense. Something's wrong here. Because all of them went to his bakery and all that stuff. I know all of them shopped with him. He might not have said, I'm a Moor. He might say Black Asiatic or whatever, but he has the Bay on there. Stop playing games. Atlanta Hawks have Sadiq Bey right now. Bay on the back of the jersey right now, up and down, dribbling up and down the place. Game winners and all that stuff. Bay on the TV every day Atlanta plays. And then people still, all right, then they just get the shoulder shrug emoji.